But using this system for something that's guaranteed for interest that you're paying someone else, that to me makes all the sense in the world. No risk, great reward, whatever amortized interest you're paying someone else, you recapture. I don't care if you're making $500,000, $1 million, $2 million. If you have a car payment where you're paying interest to someone else, why not just recapture that? If you don't want to, I would say you're not close enough to your money. That's just my opinion. And so the first step when you have that cash value is you clean the slate, you remove the third-party control, you wipe out them from your life, you take that high interest out or that emotionally heavy debt that's been weighing you down, stressing you out, keeping you up at night. You're like, oh my God, the holidays are here. And we were close to paying off our debt. And now we're going in more debt because we want everyone to have all the stuff they want. Let me ask you something. How many of you started an IBC policy but still feel unsure what to do with the money or how it works? And how many of you believe this system would give you control, but instead you're stuck waiting, wondering what your next move should be? The analysis paralysis. If that's you, welcome. You're in the right room. And I want to commend you for just showing up today. You could be anywhere else. It's the holidays, but instead you're here because you're not just looking to own a policy. You're ready to own your role. You're looking to get better. Today, I'm going to show you why most IBC clients, I'm talking thousands and thousands, never actually become the banker and how to avoid that trap. That exact moment where control is either lost or claimed and how to make the shift. Because if you hadn't made the shift, it's okay. It's not too late. We're going to show you a simple 3-step framework to step fully into your role where you're saving, you're stewarding, and you're multiplying, and how to think like a value creator. Remember, the thinking is the most important part. So your system starts working for you. And my story with this is I've seen it over and over again. Clients who fund policies maybe borrow once and then freeze, or they fund it, they have a plan and they freeze. They're stuck in their old habits with a new tool. And I get it. I was that guy too. Like when we first started this system, I thought, hey, paying off all these debts, recapturing that money, I was done. I had accomplished banking. But I didn't realize you have to stay really close to your money to create wealth. And so when I was letting it sit idle, when I was forgetting some of the things I've been teaching, that moment when I realized get closer to your money and the policy wasn't the power, I was the power. We, as the directors, the bankers, were the power, and we have to take action to be powerful. When I realized this, everything changed. So let's talk about why we're here today. How are we wrapping up 2025? The purpose of the webinar is to help you move from policy owner to wealth creator to true banker. These are all different phases of the same journey. We're going to walk you through the most skipped over step in IBC, the identity shift from someone who has a policy to someone who actually runs a banking system with control, clarity, and confidence. So by the end of the day, you're going to know exactly what your next move is, wherever you're at right now. You're going to see how to use your cash value with purpose. And you're going to walk away with a framework that you can apply for the rest of your life. And in a few minutes, I'm going to show you that exact moment that most people lose control and how to get it back forever. That sounds like something you want to learn? Pop an eye in the chat if it does. So let's get started. This is the gap where most people get stuck, right? Because we've had decades of being groomed to give up control, and we take on all the risk. You know, we get so far away from our money because we're moving so fast, and we got kids, we got life, we got work, we got things, responsibilities, parties, we got all kinds of stuff, all kinds of things. But that changing that one thing changes things if the action is consistent and persistent. If we just change the one thing and we go back to being busy all the time, we're too far away from things. I see this, think about this all the time. And here's why most don't actually become the banker. We want the results, not the responsibility. Anchor that in. Say that again. Write it in the chat. We want results, not responsibility. We're looking for someone else to take this responsibility from us, but we forget that the gratitude that we can have for this switch, this transition, this role is the magic. It is the journey. And so these folks, not you guys, but these folks never step into the identity of the person that the system was designed to create. A wealth creator, a steward, and a true banker. It's that staying in old rhythms, old habits keep us stuck. It's like committing to be in the best shape of your life, working out every day, but then having a whole sleeve of Oreos, even if they're sugar-free. it is that distance between how you see yourself and how you're committed to being on a daily basis and committing to do things that you weren't doing before. And again, persistent, consistent action. As people who are training, all of you, you're magic. You're absolutely magic. You're here and you're training every single week. And now testing yourself is where the rubber hits the road. It's where your system goes to the next level. And this is the gap we're looking to close, and we're going to close together today. And I'm going to talk about where people are missing the mark and how you can switch and get back on track in a moment. And so why do we never learn to be the banker? Again, we're groomed from an early age to open a bank account, to put our money over there, to get our credit going. We got bankers and advisors, our financial advisors with all these certifications, using big words, using jargon, talking to us, getting us excited about the market, excited about the next big thing, always keeping us excited. It's that constant state of just excitement or worry. It's all the same thing and it feels amazing. And we want those results, but we don't want the responsibility. And so we grew up in this system where being good with money simply meant put your money into an account, hope it grows, pray for one day, someday, trust the institution, don't ask questions, don't question what everyone else is doing, because question what everyone else is doing, then you're just weird. You're like that crab trying to climb out of the bucket and the other crabs just pull it back down. And this is why when you tell your friends about this, they're like, scam. And right? How many of you heard that? Can't be, too good to be true. We give banks and financial institutions the power to decide our future. We trusted Wall Street, thinking it was for us, hopefully to grow our money for retirement. We trusted advisors to move money into algorithms and indexes that we don't even understand. I'm not sure they do either, but they can explain it. They sound good. They sound sharp. They sound polished. They sound certain. And so what do? We don't want the responsibility. We give it over to them. And because the results aren't guaranteed, because there's so many variables at play, we still said okay. Because why? Because what I did for 46 years, we didn't learn how to be a banker yet, right? We're all in the business of banking. We say this all the time. You're just not the banker yet. And even if you are the banker, maybe you're nothing more than a deposited or a glorified savings account at the moment. That's okay. If you're there, that's okay. But let's ask this question. Everything I just said, how we grew up with money, a lot of you are around my age, younger, older, some of you, but the way we grew up with money, who does the system benefit? Now, all the rules, by the way, I'm not saying there's some kind of wild conspiracy. It kind of feels that way, but that's not my message. My message is we all have the power and I believe the responsibility. Everything is happening with divine timing. You're all here because something told you that there was more. And so now let's help you take that to the next level, whether you've started, whether you're in multiple policies, whether you've been doing this for a decade. What is the pattern that most IBC practitioners fall into? So here's what I see all the time. What actually happens, we have a plan. We've shown the math. They get approved. We celebrate together. We review things. They fund the policy. They meet their implementation specialists. They might borrow once. They might go buy something, and then they stop. They feel uncomfortable because they don't understand, how do I keep paying the premiums, the PUAs, or do I pay my system back? Do I refill the loan that we just took out? And so maybe they let the cash just sit there doing nothing because they're not sure what happens when they take the loan, or they're not sure, should I expand my system further because I know next year, 2026, is going to be wild. It's going to be amazing. We're going to do so many things together. Let me tell you, the stuff that is coming in January at our 3-day, don't miss it. It's the next level of building this foundation. It's taking it to the next step. It's taking it to generations and the how-to. But these folks that just start, they freeze. It's like it's like practicing over and over and getting up in front of a group to give a speech. And you just go, I don't remember, because they don't know what to do next. They don't have the confidence. And that's okay. Remember what we always say? The truth that many of you are going to relate to, just because you start the IBC policy doesn't mean you're practicing the infinite banking concept. And again, these people, and not you guys, but others over there, are falling into the patterns like paying the premiums in the PUA, but treating it like a bill. Oh, my premium's coming up again. And it might feel like that for a while. Remember, if it still feels like that, just say, hey, I just haven't made that switch yet. They might let the cash value stack up without ever putting it to work. They might have high interest debt that they're paying the other people, the banks, and the money's just sitting there compounding, probably earning them dividends, but it's not doing any work. It's not recapturing interest that's leaving their family. It's not changing their environment. That's all we're looking to do. We're looking to have you from stop going and running into a headwind. So you're just like, it doesn't matter how hard I run, how fast I train, how many hill sprints I run. I just can't seem to run any faster, Jason. Well, why don't you just turn around and run down the hill with the wind at your back? And then you're just flying. You can barely slow yourself down because it's so different. Or maybe the other patterns, right? So paying the premium, the PUA, but treating it like a bill. Or letting the cash stack up without having a plan on how to keep it in motion, how to put it to work. Or feeling scared to borrow because I don't know what to do. I'm not quite sure what happens when I take a loan. Or maybe they're using it one time and then going right back to the old habits, opening credit cards, moving money to 0% credit cards, just playing their game. And even if you're playing their game and you're winning, we want to focus on the most valuable position you will ever hold in your life, the position of banker. This is, again, all of those things is not banking. This old system behavior in a new system. So IBC, we say this all the time, but it's not a product. It's a role. It's a verb. It's a noun. It's an adjective. It's all of those things. It's an everything role. You're the banker, the verb of banking. You're the banker, the owner of your system. You're the banker, the adjective that describes wealth building, right? So you're all of these things at once. I'm not even sure if that made sense, but it did to me in my head when I was thinking it. And so these are the patterns that people can fall back in. If that's you, please be vulnerable and share. And look, I put a little testimonial from a couple that was really stuck in what to do next. And they're still asking questions. And this is the perfect example of we did this. Now we have this going on. What's next? That's the conversation you want to have with your peers, with your loved ones, with yourself. I did this. What did I learn? What went well? What could I do better? And so now we're going to talk about this identity shift. And Scotty, I love that. That's exactly it, because I know that you've had this shift. I've been there. I've watched you. I've read the questions. The moment that you become the banker, there's a moment and you're going to feel it when it happens. Nelson Nash famously said that this is caught, it's not taught. So no matter how much you read, how much you've picked up becoming your own banker and gone to page 85 and reread the points to consider and how many times you look at the same sentences, when you're ready, your brain's going to receive the information differently and it's going to click. I have folks here, like we have Dex and we have Christian and we have, I don't want to leave anybody else, but we have people that are Shane that are here every single week. And they come not because they're only supporting this group and this is their peers, but because they're here for them. They're here because they're going to walk away with something new. Patty says every time she listens to the Take Back Control Tuesday, every time she listens to this full presentation, this is the identity shift, the moment where you become the banker. And when you become something, here's the truth. You don't stay that thing because you became it. Let me repeat that. Just because you caught lightning, you had the light bulb go on, you had that magic moment, that is not your forever identity unless what? Unless you practice that identity, unless you repeat that to yourself, unless you put that in action. So that's the moment. And for you, if you have that story, when you felt that happen, I know what it was for me. I talk about it all the time. It was that Tuesday in 2021 where I was like, what the can't be? Oh my God. Like I wanted to wake Patty up and be like, hey, baby, I know it's the middle of the night, but you got to hear this. Like I was like, I've been looking for this my whole life. Nothing ever made sense. And it just clicked. It was like, it just fell into place. I've written about it. I talk about it. I blog about it. It's crazy. Like that moment will be one of those defining moments. It's like when I saw Patty for the first time and my buddy pointed out, I'm like, oh my goodness, where'd she come from? It's that moment, right? Do you remember that moment when you shifted? When you shifted from I own a policy to I run a banking system. Do you remember that? If you do, put it in the chat. And at that moment is not when you fund your policy, it's when you take responsibility for what your money does next. And you become the banker when you say, every dollar in my system must have a job, saving it, spending it, or creating more value. Bankers aren't letting money sit idle. Bankers don't fear lending. Bankers don't freeze when opportunity shows up. Bankers move money because they understand the principle that money in motion makes more money. And then you might think, well, Warren Buffett's sitting on $384 billion, Jason. So he is strategically sitting there for when the opportunity is going to show up. People that control and use money and have a healthy relationship with their banking function, they're strategic, they're intentional, and they're always doing it with control. So that's the difference between the gap or the gain here from I own a policy, I'm building cash, I'm saving for my future, to I run a banking system. I'm waiting for that opportunity. I'm learning about this thing and going through this coaching program and investing in myself because in 2026, I'm going to go from having debt to recapturing all that debt to filling back up my system as an opportunity fund to putting that money to work. And now my money for the first time in my life, however old you are, is finally making you money. That is what I want for each and every one of you. You don't have to want it. But the goal here is to strategically move and start putting your system to work. Now that you've identified who you are and when you had that magical shift of being a banker, now we got to do something to celebrate it. So I want you to get ready. I want you to smash some stuff. I want you to ring the bell and I want you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We want to spread this message, invite everybody to learn more about the infinite banking process. And you're going to be that blessing to someone in your life because you know why? Everyone tells me, Jason, I wish I knew about this sooner. And once you're smashing, you're liking, you're subscribing, you're spreading the message. You're helping more people learn about this thing that has already changed thousands and thousands of lives. And one day it'll be millions of lives. And it's not that far away. So keep smashing, liking, subscribing. And thank you for doing so. Now back to the rest of this. Now that you made that shift, let's see what's next. When I say clean the slate, when I show this slide, it's paying your debts with a strategy. And a lot of people say, Jason, I don't really have debts. I just have a car or I have like one credit card. But using this system for something that's guaranteed for interest that you're paying someone else, that to me makes all the sense in the world. No risk, great reward, whatever amortized interest you're paying someone else, you recapture. I don't care if you're making $500,000, $1 million, $2 million. If you have a car payment where you're paying interest to someone else, why not just recapture that? If you don't want to, I would say you're not close enough to your money. That's just my opinion. And so the first step when you have that cash value is you clean the slate, you remove the third party control, you wipe out them from your life, you take that high interest out or that emotionally heavy debt that's been weighing you down, stressing you out, keeping you up at night. You're like, oh my God, the holidays are here. And we were close to paying off our debt. And now we're going in more debt because we want everyone to have all the stuff they want. We want Santa's list to be delivered. Hopefully no kids are listening. You know, Santa can bring some pressure to some of us, right? For that magic. And this does one of two things for you. It's either going to free your cash flow up where you're filling the opportunity fund, and it's going to prove to your brain, I can actually move my money with confidence. I can actually move my money with confidence. And this is not the end of becoming a banker. This is just removing the friction so you can start doing the real work. And most importantly, this builds confidence. Remember, progress equals happiness. Happiness gives you confidence. And then when you're confident, you want to do it what? You want to do it more because it feels good. All of a sudden, you go from being scared in the gap, worried about money, to feeling strong, confident, and able and capable of doing whatever you can accomplish. And so next, we're going to give every dollar a job. Think of that easy concept. We're going to give every dollar a job. So after the debt payoff, here's where most people freeze again. They've accomplished the first thing, and then they say, okay, now what? Do I go buy a new car? Is this how I make more money? And they just let their cash sit. But a banker's thinking differently. And this is called becoming your own banker, BYOB. A banker wakes up every day asking, how can my capital create value? And this does not mean big, risky investments. I like the phrase I talked to an investor years ago where he's like, I play small ball, Jason. And for any baseball fans out there, what he meant is like one day, I might hit a single. One day I might bunt the guy over from first to second. Then maybe I'm hitting a sac fly. I'm moving my money around the bases. I am doing the little things. And over time, I am snowballing those investments. And once in a while, I get a great one. I get one that is a no-brainer, once in a century. Boom, gonna make it and make a nice return on it. But they're not looking for big risky. They're looking for things they know, like, and understand, and they can play small ball. We're not looking to always hit it out of the park. We're not back to the Smash Brothers of the A's trying to hit everything out of the park every single swing. So it could be some of the things up on the chart there are funding a side business, buying equipment, purchasing inventory. Maybe you're partnering on a new JV project or a project. Maybe you're just scaling your business further than it is now. What's the next thing that can take your business to the next level? Maybe you're lending money. Maybe you're acquiring real estate with a flipped, to flip it, to hold it, to rent it, to Airbnb it. You could do any of these things. Maybe you're flipping a mobile home, or maybe you're just doing small HELOC arbitrage where now you're running cash flow through the system, you're paying the system back, and you're reducing the interest that you were paying to them. Maybe you're buying a cash flowing asset. There's so many things. Again, the dollar, we're not looking to smash it out of the park every time. It doesn't have to be a home run. It just has to do more than zero. It has to make you money. You have to make the money on the guaranteed side. And in the middle, you have to make the spread, right? Chris is always talking about the spread. And a banker is always looking for ways to create passive income. So in a moment, I'm going to show you how to know exactly which opportunities to say yes to. When do you know, hey, this is the one for me? And I saw some of this just being at some of the events recently. So what you want to do is nothing happens in a vacuum, right? There's that great saying that, and it would be nice to have it on the slide here, but if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, join a community of value creators. Go together, because no one is banking or becomes a banker in isolation. There's your family around you. There's the people that you're looking to add value to, whether they're business owners, maybe they're investors, maybe they're movers, doers. Your brain's never going to see all of the opportunities. And this is why our community exists. This is why Founding Fathers exist. We want to bring like-minded people together. We want to change things at the you and me level. We want to do things in the future, annual retreats, how to have your family retreat, monthly calls. We do these weekly calls. We're sending out messages. We're following up, because being a banker is not someone with money. It's a banker is someone who thinks differently about money. Write that down. A banker is someone who thinks differently about money. And if you stay around people who are only consuming, they're only save and spend, right? And they're not creating, you won't go far. You'll just stay stuck. But when you join a community of value creators, whether it's Private Money Club, this group here, just our group in general, stay around the campfire, because you become one too, right? You're a accumulation of the people that you spend your time with. And the three roles of a true banker, and I've done this a couple different ways, but before we get to the finish, here's the simplest way to understand your new role. Your banker, your role as a banker has three jobs. You're going to save or capitalize deposit into your system. That's number one. And then your stewardship is allocating the capital with intention. How much time are you spending to learn something that you know, like, and understand, to build relationships, to find people who could vet this, to really become a steward and expert and master of this middle piece? And finally, you're multiplying it. You're creating value. You're creating the passive income. You're putting it to work. You're taking the action, right? The stewardship is the training, and then you're multiplying it by doing all the things. If you stop at step one, you're not really practicing the infinite banking concept. You're practicing whole life insurance and building a security fund, which is fine, but it's not the evolving, creating cash flow and wealth and freedom and time freedom that you're looking for. If you do steps 1 and 2, you're a beginner banker. If you do all three, now you're operating like the families who lasted and built generational wealth and prosperity. Remember, your system isn't the wealth. You Each and every one of you, Monica, Mark, Michael, you're Patricia, you're all the wealth. The system's going to amplify who you've become. And today was about helping you become the person your system was designed for. So you learned today why so many IBC clients stall out after funding their policy, the exact moment where you became a banker. That is something to write down, and why it's not what you think. A 3-step path to take back control, clean the slate. You gave every dollar a job, and you now know to join a community that multiplies your mindset. And the 3 roles of the true banker: you want to save, steward, and multiply. Remember what I shared earlier? I had a system just sitting there with lots of potential, but it wasn't until I stepped into my role till I realized that being busy and not taking action was the exact opposite of what habit we needed to have, because every dollar must have a job. When I understood that, I finally understood what it meant to be an infinite banking practitioner. It's not a balance sheet, but a banker. And the system was never about just owning a product. It was about becoming a producer, a builder. And you learn the mindset that moves, that creates real financial stewardship. And now you have the tools. You know how to move from someone who just funds a policy to someone who runs, creates, and multiplies. So let me ask you this. Write for yourself tonight, reflect, what job do you need to give the next dollar? What job does your next dollar need to do? Said differently. And are you ready to become the one who decides? Because you weren't meant to own a policy, a product. You were meant to be the banker. That is the true journey. In your future, it's about not looking like your past. It's about not doing the things that got you there to where you're stuck. It's about accelerating, moving forward, keeping money in motion, and building something with confidence, control, guarantees. And that is how you're going to expand your system and really change your life. And it all starts with that thinking, the real estate between your ears. So as always, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell, because you'll be alerted to all the new content. And you want to make sure you check out this next video, because there's always more to learn in your training process to become the best banker you can be. So as always, thank you for all your time. Be blessed. Have a great holiday season and keep banking. Remember, like we say all the time, you're already in banker. You're just not the banker yet. This episode showed you what you need to do. If you need to rewind it, watch it again, do that, or come see me in this next video. Smash like, subscribe, spread the message, invite more people. You will be that blessing that someone needed the same way that you needed it to get here. Take care. God bless. See you next time.